विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. So yesterday we were discussing the introduction of this Kenopanisad, and we said this Veda is a source of knowledge. Basically, it's the source of knowledge. It has been divided into two portions, and it's a source of knowledge of means and ends. Because a human being is born with the desire, and he wants to fulfill the desire from cradle to cremation. Or till then, the person is all the time, he is having these desires. So Veda knows this need of a human being, and therefore he wants to help the human being so that he can fulfill various ends. And for that, various means are also has been shown by the Veda. And these two portions of the Veda are there. Of course, one is Karma Kanda, other is Jnana Kanda, and both provides a means, and both shows the end also. Of course, they are different. What end, the Vedanta shows, well, it's different from the end which is shown by the Karma Kanda. And of course, then means also will be different, since the end is different. And therefore, and we started with the discussion of this Veda Purva, basically, Karma Kanda. So Karma Kanda has as a means, as a sadhanam, most of the karmas, and the karmas are of three types. That also I have discussed. One is a physical activity, that is called Kayika Karma. All this is religious activity shown by the Veda, and therefore the second one is, of course, a Vachika Karma, and Vachika Karma means the karmas which are done at the level of speech, and the third one is a Manasa Karma, activity which is at the level of mind. These are all instruments we have to perform the karma. And what kind of karmas are there, that also we have discussed. And from three types of karmas, we have got three types of results also we can improve. Three types of results we get, which is called sadhyam, three types of ends. And the first one is a improvement of my own body, upadi. Then the second one is a vishaya, improvement of the body. Means in order to fulfill the desire, you should be a healthy person. You should have a strength in your instruments in order to enjoy the objects. So the very first thing is basically improving our body mind sense complex, keeping it as healthy, and Veda shows the means also for that purpose. Then the second one is a vishaya, objects. Once you are a healthy person, then definitely you want to enjoy objects now. And in order to enjoy the objects, well, you should have objects. The very first thing is, if I am able to hear, I should have a music. I am able to see, I should have good forms. And well, I am hungry. I am a healthy person and I am hungry, then I should have food. This is what I mean is the second end, which is shown by the Purva of the Veda, is a Vishaya, varieties of the Vishayas which are objects of happiness, etc. and how to gain that. The means are also shown. They are all religious activity, I mean in terms of yajnas, etc. And this third thing is, if these two things are also there, even if my body is healthy and I have got good objects also, everything is there, but still, in order to fulfill the desire and to get a happiness, the third thing is also required, and that is environment. And so environment also contributes a lot. Then only the happy life is possible. And therefore, the third also is a third also is an end. I mean, so three ends are there. First is the improvement of my body, health, etc. Second is gaining the objects of happiness, and third is an environment in which I can enjoy the objects. So there is three types of karmas: kaika, vachika, manas karmas. Three types of phalams are also there. Three types of ends are also there. Three types of means are there, and this is all the first part of the Veda. Well, it is very voluminous. It is very voluminous, and this is the first part of the Veda. And varieties of the karmas, etc. are there. Some karmas are manas karmas, some karmas are verbal activity, some karmas are the activity at the level of physical body, physical activity. And this is how, even after gaining all this, for several years, person can have a goal in his mind. These three goals only: let me keep myself healthy, let my senses have a good power, let me have a good hunger and thirst, etc., etc. Let my body enjoys a health. Fine. Then let me have all the objects of happiness, and then let me have a good environment, a healthy environment, a harmonious environment in which I can enjoy all these objects. So even after gaining varieties of the objects of happiness and objects of security, person definitely, a thinking person, finds the defects in what these ends are there. Three types of ends are there. He finds a defect within them, and these three defects has been shown like this. Only few people can discover this kind of thing, and unless one who leads oneself through a Vedic life, through this, one who can become a Guna Brahmana. I don't want to discuss further now, because basically one who is a Sattvic person can definitely discover this. He or she will have a discriminative power. And how to become Guna Brahmana also I have discussed in even while we were discussing Bhagavad Gita. And so anyway, but the person, or through Punyam he can have that discrimination capacity, by which he will discover the limitations in these three types of ends. And what are the limitations? Well, the very first limitation is the objects of happiness as such they are all contaminated with the unhappiness also. And therefore, basically, you won't get, because any object which you acquire, before it comes to your hand, you will have to put a lot of efforts. That's one thing. Effort is one thing. But along with it, there is anxiety also. There is competition also. And therefore, basically, I have told you that even the earning the object, acquiring the object also has a dukkha. And then once you acquire it, then to retain is a much more problem. And therefore the second is a rakshane dukkha. And the third thing, of course, and any amount of you want to retain by hook or crook, but the object will go away from you, or you will lose a charm in that, whatever. And therefore, basically, so if it goes away, you definitely feel more painful. And therefore, any object which you acquire, that is with object of pleasure or a security, rather than giving you happiness, it will end up in ultimately unhappiness. So this is what is happening. I will give you a simple example. Like a person performs, I will talk about in terms of religious activity only. As I told you, somebody suppose has performed a Tripura Sundari Upasana, let's say that. And then he or she gains a beauty. Now, to do that upasana itself is what I tell you. It's a very big effort, and in that you will have a lot of anxiety also, definitely. And then once you gain that beauty, well, to retain is another problem. That's what is happening in the world. To retain the beauty, there is a lot of conflict, and people they always feel that they have not retained the beauty. So second thing is rakshane dukkha. It is much more than acquiring that beauty. To protect the beauty itself is a very very big problem, and definitely you are going to lose. Body being what it is, and therefore you will lose it. And when you lose it, after acquiring what you lose will create a lot of dukkha. So beauty is an object of happiness for me, but ultimately it is always contaminated with the dukkha while earning, while retaining, and definitely after loss. Tremendous dukkha will be there, because this is how the first dosha he is able to see that yeah, I did this upasana etc. and I acquired also, but it has gone. So he could see that, the anityatvam of this thing. And second thing is, second dosha is there in the end, which you gain through this religious activity provided by the Veda, the Karmakanda portion of the Veda. And the second thing is, of course, atrupti. Well, it will not give you an everlasting satisfaction. Nothing gives you. No object in the world can give you a total satisfaction. Otherwise, we will not search for a new object. The fact that we keep on searching new objects itself shows that the particular object has not given me enough satisfaction, and therefore I am in search of a further satisfaction. And that is how the second dosha is atrupti, a dissatisfaction, because it is basically born of the karma. It is karma phala, and therefore this it has its limitation to provide you the satisfaction. It definitely provides, but it is very limited. And we have taken the example yesterday. I have shown you, like a best example is, say, the wealth. Nobody is satisfied with the wealth what he or she has. That therefore the second dosha is there, well, which is a goal of a life, and which is a sadhyam. And for that you have performed a Shri Sukta Homa, etc. I am not going to worldly means, because I am talking about Veda. Please understand that. So I am means and ends, both I will talk in terms of Vedic karma and as well as Vedic sadhanam and Vedic sadhya. I am the sadhyam which is provided ultimately by Veda. And the third dosha, of course, is bandhakatvam. Bandhakatvam means it will enslave you. Any object has a capacity to make you slave. Any. So, and therefore, and definitely object comes as an object, but then it makes me bound to that, and therefore it becomes a crutch, and I am not happy with any crutch, and therefore definitely this is a third dosha we have. So whatever I accomplish, whatever I accomplish as a karma phala, lots of karma phalas, well, definitely still more I acquire, in fact, karma phalas, what are results of an action, more ends I get, but then I become more and more bound to that. And any single thing can make me unhappy if it goes out of order. Any single thing. And so more objects, more basically independence. So anyway, so this is how this kind of a dosha one discovers in the varieties of the ends shown by the Purvabhaga of the Veda, and the means, of course, are three types of karmas which we have seen. So sadhana and sadhya. The Veda gives you knowledge of sadhana and sadhya, the connection between the means and end, but one can discover this. One can discover, but there are very few people who can discover like this. And I have told you, one who lives a very religious life, a Vedic way of life, definitely can discover this. In fact, Vedic life is designed for that. So ultimately one will have that discriminative capacity. The goal of every human being is, I told you in Bhagavad Gita, the goal of every human being is to be a Brahmana, ultimately. Brahmana in terms of guna. No one, Jati Brahmana is no one is interested, and it is not required also. And you cannot become also. Once you are born in a certain family, you cannot change also. So basically, one should become a Brahmana. That's what the Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha Bhagavan said very clearly. This Varna Vyavastha, well, is there based on Guna and Karma. Bhagavan did not say Jati. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. This is the division. Anyway. So, but most of the people are, they always settle for less than that. Even though this kind of thing, of course, this doshas they cannot see, and they always settle for something less than that. So they will say always, okay, everything is good, everything is fine with us. So, because they also want, but they don't want to put more. They don't want to exert themselves. So unintelligent person is there, which he will settle for something less in the life, even though he wants, but he will always settle for something less in the life. And very good example is, in India, these slum dwellers are there. Slum colonies are there. Then, the government builds a housing colonies. They want to provide a very good house with all this RCC roof and everything. And they build, and because basically most of the slums etc. are all encroachment in a very prime locality. So the government wants to provide them a house, and they build the house and request them to go there. So they take the possession of the house, but they don't go there. They live in the slum only, and that house they will give for rent. So this is how it is. So basically you are provided such an opportunity, then but they are settled with that, with the less facility now. They find that is better than even the going to that particular apartment, etc. So this kind of a thing. So I am also settled with whatever is there, Swamiji. What to think? What these doshas, etc. You are talking about, these defects, etc. Who thinks that? Anyway, you do more karma, you gain more karma phala, and then okay, it doesn't give you total satisfaction, no problem. It will make us a slave, no problem. This is how it is. And it has a little bit of contamination. It is contaminated with unhappiness, etc. It will not give you a full joy, etc. No problem. You do some more activity, you gain some more objects, etc. And this is how people want to continue. But so this is an unintelligent way of living. But few people definitely who can think, and they want a fourth goal. These three goals we have talked about. Three goals are what? Improving one's health. Have a health and strength, both. And for that, okay, goes to the Veda and resort to karma, which can, which can enhance their ability, which can enhance the power of the senses, etc. So that's one goal. That's goal we also have. The second goal I told you, gaining the objects of happiness. Well, and the third one is have a good environment. People strive a lot, at least to have a harmonious, atmosphere, healthy atmosphere in the home, in the office. People strive a lot. So that's also a goal. So these three goals are there. But as we have seen there is a defect. There are three types of defects in that. Now this person who is an intelligent being, who is little bit thinking, and whose punya is definitely is going to fructify, or who has lived a religious life while doing even karma, and then definitely he has got a sattvic mind, and he wants the fourth goal. What is the fourth goal? Well, these three defects should not be there. Will be the fourth goal. Yeah, these three defects should not be there. That should be the goal of this person. And now he wants a goal in which he wants an absolute happiness. There is no, it is not contaminated with a unhappiness. Second, it should not be an object of happiness. Because any object of happiness definitely has a capacity to enslave you, etc. And therefore, he wants, he knows very well So it is not an object of happiness. And the third thing, of course, well, it must be independent, because this object makes him slave, and therefore he wants now a goal which is independent, which keeps him independent, which makes him independent while enjoying. Please understand this. Which makes him independent while enjoying, which keeps him independent while enjoying, and which cannot bound him, which will give a total satisfaction. Trupti should be there, and which is not contaminated by unhappiness, which is never mixed with unhappiness. More than it is mixed with unhappiness, definitely the joy also would be less, and therefore definitely he wants, this is his condition. He is in search of this fourth goal, which is free from the three defects. And well, then same Veda tells, go further, no problem. Cross the boundary. Cross the boundary? Yeah. Cross the boundary of the first portion of the Veda and enter into the second portion. And there is a welcome sign, nothing to worry. Enter that, and in the entrance itself it is written there. Well, Nirdosham hi samam Brahma. Well, this something called Brahman is there, which is Nirdosham, free from dosha. So this is the fourth goal, which is which is called Brahman. And definitely the person who is having such a discrimination, or has a sattvic mind, or whose punya is, of course, has fructified, will go further in that second portion. And now while he is going, he has been offered again this kind of objects and good health and everything, and he has been provided that okay, you will get a good environment also, like our Nachiketa was provided. If you remember, Nachiketa was provided everything. Nachiketa was told that you will get 100 years of life, and that to healthy life first. Then you will be provided various types of objects of pleasure, etc. Like all these apsaras and these and that, all imported stuff. Definitely for Americans also it is an imported stuff, because it's all heavenly thing. And definitely, and so you will be provided that. And third thing is good environment. Well, definitely Swarga has a better environment. That Loka is much, much better than this Loka, definitely. Sterile environment. Puja Swami used to call it as a sterile, totally sterile. Free from any virus, free from COVID-19. Therefore, so, all the three goals are already, again it has been told, and it has been provided by Yamaraja. And he says, these are all the toys. I don't want to play with these toys. Very clearly he said, Tavaiva vaha tavanrutya gite. Tavaiva vaha, vahanam. Means your imported cars, please keep it with you. And all your this dancing and music and this, you keep it with you. Objects of pleasure, you keep it with you. I don't want. And so, then such a person is eligible, definitely. And of course, he, this is the second portion of the Veda, we call it as a Jnana Kanda, Vedanta. And in this, the fourth goal, free from the three defects, Brahman, which is called Nirdosham, free from the dosha, free from the defects, has been shown. So then, this person definitely asks to this Upanishad that what is that goal which will give me this defect-free end, defect-free result. Upanishad said Brahman, but what is that Brahman? And to his utter surprise, Veda or Upanishad gives him a shocking information that the Brahman is nothing but yourself, is Tattvamasi. And so this Brahman which you are seeking, that's your goal in your life, which is free from the defects and three defects. It is not contaminated with unhappiness. It is not, it will not make you enslaved, it is independent, etc. And it will give you total satisfaction. And So then this is the goal. Well, that goal is not other than you. It is just you. So he gets a really, literally a shock. It's like a shock of what? One lady before a few years, she gave an article that the heading of the article was, I know that I am seeking myself. I was seeking myself. That was an article in which actually she was working. She got married and then she was working with some organization. And then she became pregnant. And then she gave a child, and then now definitely she has some leave and everything, but now she wants somebody because she wants to join again and organization. So she wants a babysitter. And definitely then she has moved to many places where she can keep a child for few hours, etc. And everywhere she goes, she finds some defect. And ultimately then she discussed with her husband, and they decided that we will hire a service of a babysitter in our home itself. And then then she took an interview of many people applied, and then she took interview of this babysitter. And every babysitter she used to find some defect. And ultimately she discussed with her husband. Then she discovered that, well, she earlier she had put like this, that I want a babysitter who is free from all defects, all good qualities, etc. And she found ultimately only one person who fulfills all the conditions. I mean, who has no defects, and that is I, the mother, can fulfill all the defects. I mean, I, the mother, can fulfill all the condition for the growing of the child. And that's how she wrote an article. I know that I was seeking myself. She resigned from the job ultimately. Anyway, what I am saying is, what she was seeking was herself. While she was seeking in ayahs, different babysitters, but basically she was seeking herself. So, same way, this person was also seeking objects of happiness. This person was seeking health and strength. This person was seeking, all a good environment. Ultimately, what he was seeking is himself. So all the things which has been told about for Brahman is nothing but my own nature. So Veda talks about about Brahman like Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, this Nirgunam, Nishkalam, Shantam, etc. All this Niranjanam and Srushti Sthiti Laya Karanam, etc. Well, whole that description of Brahman, basically is given by the Shastra, and then Shastra says it is your nature. And that creates a conflict. Of course, it definitely creates a conflict, because I am already having some notion regarding myself. And definitely, so that creates, the beauty in this discussion is the Brahman which has been depicted like this is nothing but my own Swarupa. It's nothing but nature of the Atma. So it is the same as the meaning Atma is nothing but the Brahman. Whatever has been discussed, what has been shown as a nature of Brahman is nothing but myself. So like Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, etc., Shuddham, Buddham, Muktam, Brahma, etc., all these words are words referring to the nature of the self. People generally think that I have to see Satyam in Atma. This is how they say. So you don't see Satyam, you don't say Shuddham in Atma. Basically Satyam is Atma. And Shuddham is Atma. Previously, I was thinking that these are the as though qualities. So basically, what is this Muktam Brahma, let us say? So these are basically, the words have been given for, these different words are used for Brahman to show his nature based on my conclusion regarding myself. So these words are born of our own conclusions. The conclusions definitely will go away in the wake of this knowledge which is provided by the Vedanta. But very few people only understand this, really. I feel that I am subject to Ragadvesha, I am subject to Punya Papa, I am subject to Sukha Dukkha, I am Jiva, I am very limited being, I am subject to old age and death, I am subject to attachments. These are all conclusions centered on the self. And the self is just opposite to your conclusions, and therefore basically they say Nityam Shuddha, Atma is Nityam or Brahman is Nityam. Well, definitely Atma is Shuddham, Atma is Muktam, because I consider myself as a bound. I consider myself as a impure in terms of Punya Papam or in terms of Raga Dvesha. And that is how Shastra has to use so many words. Why otherwise to use the word Shuddham? One need not have to search Shuddham in the Atma. Very Shuddham is Atma or Shuddham is Brahman. So Aham Ashuddha is a conclusion. And therefore they say, well, Aham Shuddha is a fact. Same way Aham Ashanta. I am very, very agitated. That's how they have to say, well, Atma or Brahman is Shanta Srupa. Shantam Shivam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma Sa Vigneya. Mandukya, Upanishad has said. So word Shuddham has come from the conclusion regarding myself that I am Ashuddha. So if you have not concluded I am Ashuddha, I am not subject to Punya Papam. If you have not that kind of a conclusion, Shastra has no need to tell you that you are Shuddham. You are free from Punya Papam. Since you hold a conclusion, Shastra has to tell you. So the word Shuddham is purely to remove my wrong conclusion that I am Ashuddha. And Shuddhattam is nothing but giving up, the notion of Ashuddhattam. So we have to understand all these words, Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, etc. or all this, Niranjanam, Niravayam, because I consider myself who is having limbs. So I consider myself as a Sakalam. So, well, Shastra has to tell that Brahman is Nishkalam or Atma is Nishkalam. So from any standpoint, all these words, of course, you will find, this word moksha is a wonderful thing. Because I am Ashuddha, impure, is a conclusion. So I am free from the notion. Well, of I am Ashuddha is a moksha. I am Baddha or bound is a conclusion. I am bound by a time. I am bound by a place. I am bound in terms of, physical limitation. I am having emotional limitations. I am having intellectual limitations. All these limitations, varieties of limitations are there. Well, so I am bound is a conclusion. So I am free from the notion that I am bound is a moksha. Could you follow what I am saying? So for Shuddham or Nityam or, Muktam, all this, or Satyam, whatever, they describe Brahman in terms of this, and which has been ultimately shown as oneness with the Atma. But ultimately they say, we can say, the only goal of a human being is moksha. Moksha means freedom. Freedom means what? This is how, freedom from the notion which I am already having. Just freedom from the notion I am already having. And therefore they could use word only moksha. Instead of telling moksha, they say you are Shuddham, you are Asangaha, you are Shantaha, you are Satyam. Why they have to use so many words? Because with reference to every word, I am having a opposite conclusion for myself. And therefore, basically, ultimately dropping those conclusions, I am free from the notion that I am Baddha is moksha. I am subject to aging, I am subject to wailing. No, you are mukta. So why this word moksha is a common word pointing out freedom from all conclusions. So the ultimate goal, why I am discussing is ultimate goal which is free from these three defects. That particular end is talked about in the second portion of the Veda called Vedanta. And when it says when Brahman is the goal or moksha is a goal, it says you are that, and definitely it creates a conflict that I am definitely, I feel that I am not that. I am not free. I am not free from attachment. I am not free from the punya papam. In fact, I am subject to sukha dukkha. I am subject to punya papam. I am subject to attachment. And all this, I am subject to raga dvesha. And definitely, whether that is right or this is right, we say these are all your notions. I am subject to Ragadvesha is a notion. I am subject to Punya Papa is a notion. I am subject to attachment is a notion. I am subject to birth and death is a notion. I am subject to anger is a notion. I am subject to agitation is a notion. I am subject to having anxiety. I am anxious person is a notion, basically. And therefore, then why these notions? Well, ignorance is a problem. And therefore, knowing yourself is a means. For what? That you are free. So, moksha is a goal. Well, so basically, the word moksha is a very common word pointing out freedom from all conclusions. And to negate every conclusions, we have several words like Shuddham, Buddham, Muktam, Satyam, etc. All these, Shantam, all these words are there. Or Niranjanam, free from any kind of a impurities. Well, all these words definitely make me free from the notion. I get freedom. That's called moksha. So, we have lots of countless words because we have conclusions regarding centered on the self. Countless conclusions are there, and therefore, to negate every conclusion, which is nothing but a notion, confusion born of ignorance, they will have to use thousands of words. So instead of using all these words, ultimately they say, well, definitely all these words which we use in terms of Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Asanga, etc. One word is there, and that is moksha. Moksha is nothing but freedom from ashuddhi. So if you know that I am Shuddha, well, you are free. Well, you say I am Asanga, you are free. That's called moksha. So moksha is and sadhyam and and jnanam, of course, because basically you have a different conclusion about yourself and Shastra has a different conclusion about yourself. Well, out of these two, one should be chosen. And well, definitely, what you are searching definitely in your life is a goal, free from all the defects, etc. And that goal is nothing but basically Brahman, which is nothing but Atma. So you are searching for a happiness. Well, yeah, you are happiness. When you are happiness and that is your nature, and therefore it is not contaminated with the unhappiness at all. Object is contaminated with the unhappiness because acquiring object, which is definitely other than you, other than the subject, definitely acquiring itself has a lot of anxiety and a lot of efforts, and you have to retain because it is different from you, it's an object. And so for retention also you need a lot of efforts, you will have anxiety, and it will go away from you being an object. Definitely subject cannot go anywhere, and therefore definitely you feel that any object of pleasure you acquire, well, it is all the time mixed up with the unhappiness because of acquiring, because of retention, or because of I'm going to lose. The very possibility of losing, very possibility, you are not lost. That's what the Arjuna's problem is. Very possibility of losing will create a fear. Very possibility of losing. Anyway, so, and it is going to make you independent because self is independent. Atma is independent of everything. Atma is Satyam and therefore it is independent. And therefore you wanted I require a goal which cannot make me a slave. Well, that is the goal. And it will give you satisfaction, being your nature. It will give you a total satisfaction because Atma is fullness. And therefore that is the fullness which you experience in a moment of joy. That is the fullness you experience in the deep sleep state. And therefore basically you wanted a goal. You are in search of a goal which is free from three defects. That goal is not an object. It is the nature of the self. Any object, well, if you keep it as a goal, it will be always having these three defects. And therefore it is very much you. That Brahman which has been shown as a goal of the life, and that it has been also told in a Mahavakya called Val Tattvamasi, etc. And that is the nature of you. So you can understand this very well, that's the goal of shown by Vedanta, and the means for acquiring that goal, of course, that you have to know Brahman, you have to know the self, and that is the Jnanam is a means for that. So this is how it has been shown. And now, what is that Atma Jnanam is what? Well, definitely it is nothing but doing Shravana Manana Nidhyasanam of the Vedanta, that is Upanishad. And here two, 3 points we will have to discuss. One thing is an independent inquiry, well, who am I, etc., can never lead you to Brahman. So whether you close your eyes or open your eyes, well, definitely independent inquiry cannot help you. You definitely need a pramana, the means of knowledge, which I am going to talk about after this is over. So means of knowledge is required, that is Vedanta, of course, is required. But then mere Shastra also is not going to help you, because Shastra also, if you cannot unlock yourself, and therefore you require a teacher. And therefore the Jnana Yoga, etc., of course, in a Jnana Kandam, there is Jnanam only is a predominant. The Jnanam is nothing but of the self-knowledge, of course, and the self-knowledge provides you gives you the end, which is moksha. But it requires both the things, a teacher and a scripture, both. And now the third thing is, even if a teacher is there and the Shastra is there, person does an inquiry and he has to do an inquiry for a sufficient length of time. And so, they always give an example. If you want to cross the road, then definitely you will have to walk towards, if you want to cross the road and reach to the other side, well, you have to walk. The very first thing is. And second thing is, you have to move in that proper direction. Right? By crossing the road means you cannot go just along the road. You have to cross it means and reach to the other end. Definitely you will have to move in a right direction. You should have a proper effort. And the third thing is, you should have an adequate effort also. Suppose you are crossing the road and you have, going also, you have started walking. And and in a proper direction also. Wherever you want to go on the other side of the road, in that direction you have started walking. But adequate also walking is required. In between, if you stop, you rather than, reaching to the destination on the other side of the road, you may end up in a hospital. So, adequate effort also is required. Proper effort is required in a proper direction, with the help of teacher, of course, is required. And then definitely, if this is done, then you will find that, well, my conclusion about myself is a false conclusion. I am Jiva, etc. I am a limited entity. I am subject to attachment. I am subject to punya papam. I am vulnerable to all pleasure and pain, etc. etc. I am subject to birth and death. I am limited all the way, limited in terms of time, place, and I am in physical limitation, etc. Emotional limitations. Well, this was just a wrong conclusion. This was just an assumption. Earlier it was not. Before he started the self-inquiry with the help of teacher, etc., well, he was thinking perhaps I may be right and the Shastra may be wrong, because the conclusions are just opposite to each other. And therefore now he says, well, my conclusions regarding myself were not true. They were simply an assumptions. When he can say, after doing self-inquiry, after gaining knowledge through Shastra and teacher, and well, of course, with adequate efforts, for a length of time, if one listens, then one is ready to drop the conclusions about oneself and ready to accept the conclusions which are shown by Shastra and teacher. Well, so this is how, these are all assumptions, and there are enough examples in the world. Always people ask, this thing, if this is the situation, what Shastra says is right, then why all the people have a contrary conclusion than what Shastra says? That's very correct. Because few people may have a mistake, that's one thing, but everyone who is born will having this kind of error, confusion regarding self. How can it be true? But that is how even the science also has discovered. The earth is in the center and the sun is revolving around. All were believing like that. Everyone was believing in the same way. In fact, one person said which is opposite to that. He, he said the sun is in the center and earth is moving around. And when he said, he was considered a mad person, Galileo. And definitely it happened so that he was persecuted also. But he was the right person, a single person. In the entire earth at that time, of course, whoever were there, they were all believing like this. I don't think Vedic people were believing, because we were very sure. All this, we have all calculated eclipse and everything on our own way. Our all calendars from the Panchangam, well, everything, all these things were there. When the eclipse will be there and all this. And therefore, we were very sure that, the earth is moving around and the sun is in the center. We have never this kind of conclusion. But, in general, all entire humanity was believing contrary to what this person is telling now. The scientist is telling. It does not mean all these people were right and the single person is wrong. The single person could be right and all others were wrong. Same way, what Vedanta says looks very contrary to the entire humanity. Whoever is born. Well, and we say you are born with this self-confusion because there is a self-ignorance. Ignorance is the capital of every human being. Anyone is born ignorant. And therefore, if there is ignorance, confusion is going to be there, error is going to be there. And so it could be there. But everyone will have, everyone, because everyone is born ignorant. And therefore, even the Shastra says the conclusion will be very well different from what you think about yourself or what you conclude about yourself. Well, definitely, it is an error. But the people who go through this self-inquiry with the help of a teacher and the Shastra, and of course, adequate efforts will be there, and proper direction of course will be there, because Shastra and teacher is there, but for proper effort is definitely there. But adequate effort, for a length of time one has to do that. And then you are ready to draw the conclusions regarding yourself, considering them as just an assumption about yourself. And we have lived a life like with so many assumptions. In fact, that is how we are. As a child, I thought that this particular toy is giving me happiness. A little I grown up, then I will find this computer games and etc. is a object of happiness. A little grown up further, then I find that a bicycle or a bike, whatever, is a object of happiness. And then little grown further, then I find the car is a source of happiness. And then I find not only car, the car with the wife, both are a source of happiness. And then car with the wife, and now if we have a child, then that will be a source of happiness. And then child also gets married, I will be very happy. And then afterwards the children will have a children, then I will be very happy. You keep on. This is all assumption. One leads one's life through assumption regarding one's conclusion. Well, and that is how the whole life just goes in search of happiness. And the object of happiness will be always in the future. You always project. That's how our the life of self becoming also is like this only. Anyway, so we never question those basic assumptions. In fact, everyone goes through that and we never question. So, but they could be wrong. So even though everyone can have the conclusion that I am a jiva, well, I am subject to attachment. I am Swamiji, I am really attached to my so-and-so, etc., etc. Swamiji, what kind of a papam I have done, I don't know. So I am subject to punya papa. Well, and I am subject to birth and death. How many years more I have to live, Swamiji, etc. I am having a limited life, a limitation in terms of time, limitation in terms of place. Well, Swamiji, I have physical limitation. I cannot lift the bucket now. So I am having emotional limitations. You say that we should have a compassion, why? But I could not have that compassion. Sometimes the cruelty also surfaces, etc. And all the way, thousands and thousands of conclusions we have turned assumptions. The very jivatvam, that I am an individual, is a bhranti. That is how one discovers through Vedanta and through this Upanishad. So, and these delusions or the assumptions will not go by itself. Many things will come in your life, will go by itself. You need not have to worry, really. That's how we say some situation which is uncomfortable to you, and then you may have a lot of anxiety. when it will go, But agama painaha nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. So agamaha, well, they have arrived. Then apainaha, they are going to they are going to go away, definitely. So any situation in your life, well, comfortable, uncomfortable, both come and go, even without your effort. That's how, even while discussing, I have told you, so far as the objects of unhappiness, you don't invite, never you invite any object of unhappiness. Still they come they come to your life. Yeah, they come. Then the same way, object of happiness also will come to your life. Even you need not have an anxiety. But we are not ready for that. We are not ready. So either objects of unhappiness, if they come unwanted, uninvited to your life, into your life. Same way, object of happiness also, they will come. Uninvited they will come, and they have come. If you observe your life, you will find that many times it has happened, many times, that object of desire which you consider as object of happiness, well, it has not come. Some other object has come in your life which has proved very beneficial in your life, which has given you happiness also. And therefore, they also come uninvited, but we remain anxious. Anyway, what I am saying is, any situation or object can come in your life and they will go away without your effort. Without your effort. But one thing will never go. One thing will never go. What? A conclusion regarding yourself will never go. Never. Several lives and lives, because it is all based on self-ignorance. And self-ignorance is anadi. It is anadi, it is beginningless. And therefore, it is anadi, it has no beginning, that it will not end on its own. The thing which does not begin on its own definitely will not end on its own. Which is anadi, will not end on its own. You will have to put an end. And therefore, this ignorance or a delusion or whatever the conclusions regarding me won't go unless a deliberate, well-directed, proper effort, adequate effort will be there, which is in terms of gaining knowledge. And therefore, that is required, of course, in this Jnana Yoga. And when then he discovers this, that I am the very, what I was searching as a goal, free from the defects, all the three defects, is nothing but the self. This is how he discovers. And then definitely, of course, as I told you, it is purely a notion. You have to drop the notion. That's how it is. It requires a purushartha. What is in your hand, of course, you can drop. Well, we can request you to drop. We'll tell you also it is a source of pain. Like you are holding on a hot potato in your hand. Puja Swamis used to tell, you are holding a hot potato and your hand is getting burnt. Then we can request you that drop that potato. Well, which is a cause of pain, but ultimately you will have to do. So dropping the notions. The freedom is nothing but that I am bound, etc. That's a notion. You make yourself free from the notion is a moksha. You make yourself free from the varieties of the notion is a moksha. That is the criteria. Like Karna was told, that you are a Kshatriya. Karna was told you are a Kshatriya. So he has to drop the notion, that's all. He is not that the moment he was told, then he has become from Akshatriya to Kshatriya. No. He was Kshatriya. And when he will be happy, when he will consider himself as a sixth Pandava, if he drops the notion that I am Akshatriya, he has to drop the notion. Whatever number of times, if suppose person tells him, of course his mother has told, but then what I am saying is, if anyone tells and if he doesn't drop that notion that I am Akshatriya, if that is a notion, if he doesn't drop, well, then he will not have a joy of being a Kshatriya. And therefore, this is how one has to understand. And then definitely one discovers that I am independent, I am full and complete and free from any enslavery, etc. Well, then the external factors, of course, is not required. In order to be content, in order to be happy, in order to be full and complete, well, it is all bonus. they say like a lame person, uses a stick. And then the presence and absence of the stick is a very, very big thing for that person. But if I have a strong fit, of course, then this presence and absence of the stick does not make a difference to me in my life. In fact, I have seen the people who go for a morning walk, both kind of people are there. One definitely who are not strong in their feet, they always keep a stick and they take a support of that while walking. And there are other people who have a strong feet, they walk fast, still they keep a stick. And with that stick they used to do like this, keep on doing. I mean, for them keeping a stick is a joy. Keeping a stick is definitely, it's an object of joy. They keep on doing like this. I mean, just to have a stick in their hand, it's an embellishment. Same way, the person who is content, one who knows himself that I am full and complete, well, that for such a person, external objects of happiness are also embellishment for this person. So anyway, so Vedanta, of course, through knowledge, help me gain this moksha. This is the content of the Vedanta. What is the content of the Purva Bhaga of the Veda? Well, I have already talked to you. Purva Bhaga of the Veda, of course. So the Purva Bhaga of the Veda, of course, is giving you varieties of the religious activity, and you can achieve the goals also. 3 kinds of goals we have seen, but those goals, those ends, those sadhyams were having these 3 defects. Now Vedanta also, the second part of the Veda also shows a means and end, which shows you a goal, shows you, which just the Veda's job is just to show you. That's all. Depending upon your desire, you can choose. It only highlights the various means and various ends for you. Depending upon your desire, of course, well, you can choose. So the second portion of the Veda, of course, shows this, the moksha as a goal and jnanam as a sadhana. Here also means and ends are there. Means is knowledge, end is moksha, which is nothing but the nature of myself. So, and that Vedanta, the second portion of the Veda, which we call Vedanta, that is generally, it is called Upanishad. And this Upanishad has 2 meanings. Word Upanishad, of course, is one meaning, of course, Upa means going near. Upa means to go, I'm near actually, but going near or going to a teacher is called Upa. That's how we have this word Upa everywhere. Upanayanam also is there. Upanayanam means carrying. Ni dhatu has a meaning of to carry. Upanayanam means carrying near. Carrying near to whom? Carrying near to the teacher. Because now he will be admitted into Gurukulam. So after Upanayanam. And therefore, carrying near to the teacher. So you after the Upanayanam, you take him to the Gurukulam. To carrying near to the teacher. Then Ni indicates Nichaihi Avasthanam. So going to the teacher, Upa. Ni means Nichaihi Avasthanam. Nichaihi Sthanam. And then sitting down. Going to the teacher, and what should I do? Well, don't stand like that in front of him. Then Nichaihi means, sitting down, sitting at the feet of the Guru. Once you reach there, Ni means Nichaihi Sthanam. You sit at the feet of the Guru. And why should I sit at the feet of the Guru? Because in order to receive the knowledge. That's how the knowledge, the flow is off from the higher side to the lower side. And therefore, you want a jnana pravaha. Well, then knowledge acquired by you. So for that you sit down. It's a mode of gaining knowledge. Upavat plus Ni indicates a mode of gaining knowledge. And Sad indicates, destroyer of what? Destroyer of your conclusions regarding yourself, which was haunting you, definitely. And so all this, that I am subject to attachment, haunting. I am subject to birth and death. Yeah, it's another haunting. I mean, it's all samsara. Every conclusion about myself, either directly, indirectly, he leads to sorrow. Leads to sorrow. I am subject to birth, leads to sorrow. Subject to death, leads to sorrow. I am so and so, leads to sorrow. Old, etc., old age, etc. Many things. I am subject to sukha dukkha, leads to sorrow. I am subject to raga dvesha, leads to sorrow. Ultimately. And therefore, definitely, the very destroyer of this sad indicates a destroyer. Destroyer of what? Destroyer of your conclusions, and ultimately destroyer of your sorrow, samsara. So Upanishad means Upa plus Ni indicates a mode of knowledge. Upa means going to the teacher, and Upasadanam we call generally, and Ni means Nichai Avasthanam. Well, go to the teacher and you sit at the feet of the teacher, and definitely that's a mode of knowledge that indicates how you should gain a knowledge from the teacher. And then Sad indicates definitely if you gain a knowledge, it will, this knowledge of Upanishad definitely destroys the very jivatva. And you will know that basically I am jiva, it was a very notion, it has been destroyed, and I am Brahman. That's my reality. When that's a goal, that is called moksha. To know itself is a moksha. Not Atmajnanam gives moksha. That's a wrong way of saying. Atmajnanam gives moksha. Means once you acquire knowledge, afterwards moksha will appear for you. If anything is going to appear for you, it is not an eternal thing at all. Anyway, but we don't want to discuss right now. It will be there in the Upanishad. We'll discuss. And this is one meaning of the Upanishad. Second meaning, of course, of the Upanishad is, which you know very well, and we'll discuss in the detail also later. Expression of this Upa basically refers to Atma. Upa means near. And what is near is, relatively you can say, and then you will find relatively one thing is near to the other, and the other thing is like you are not near to me. For me, my computer is very near to me. And compared to computer, my dress is near to me. Compared to my dress, the body is near to me. Compared to my body, the mind is near to me. Compared to my mind, what is near? I is near to I. Therefore, the Upa indicates what is what is most nearest to me. Nearest to me is myself. And therefore, Upa indicates I, the self. And then Ni means Nishya. Yeah, Nishya. Nishya means doubtless knowledge. And therefore, you have also doubtless knowledge. You think that you have doubtless knowledge about you, but that's not the thing. So, Upa plus Ni indicates a doubtless knowledge regarding the self, I. And that doubtless knowledge means like this. We have to, Upanishad says I am Brahman. My teacher says I am Brahman. And teacher says I am Mukta. That is not doubtless knowledge. Without any crutches, you should be able to say, that I am free, etc. I think I am Brahman. That kind of a thing will not work. Anyway, and Sad means a reacher. It can take you. That one takes, Upa plus Ni means once you gain this ascertained knowledge of the Atma, definitely it will take you. It will take you where? It will take me to the moksha. It will take me to the Brahman. Anyway, so this is how Upanishad word is there. And then there are, Upanishad is basically a dialogue and etc. etc. A monodialogue. I mean, it is a dialogue in which, in some of the Upanishad, it is a single dialogue between a teacher and student. And in other Upanishads, there are many dialogues, like Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad. And there are few more things are there. And I wanted to talk about Pramana also, which I will talk tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.